England and into Wales, where we have the band of rain lingering, and that continues its way across parts of northern England too. Behind that frontal system, though, across Scotland and Northern Ireland, things will be brightening up as we go through the morning. So some sunny spells, but also a scattering of showers and still some blustery winds. The front does gradually edge a little bit further southeast, so in the far southeast of the country, it is going to turn cloudier as we go into the afternoon. But as that front makes its way across, it's breaking up, it's fragmenting, so really not a huge amount of rain for many as we go into the afternoon. Just a few showers across northern and western parts in particular. Temperatures are going to be a degree or so down compared to today, and with the cloudier skies, blustery winds and a bit of rain around, feeling fresher as well. Into Friday, and for many it is going to be a fine day. Some decent sunshine on offer once again, but across northern parts, particularly the far north of Scotland, here it's looking blustery and it's looking quite wet. More wet weather to come across far northern parts as we go through this weekend, but further south, largely dry, often sunny and turning hotter.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Could this be the biggest manifesto promise break ever? Sir Keir Starmer has apparently opened the door to hiking income tax as well, not ruling out rising VAT. No taxes on working people. That was the promise. It looks like that is in tatters. We've also got Labour's Minister for Homelessness has ejected her tenants and then hiked up the rent. It's a good job they decriminalise rough sleeping, isn't it? We're going to be talking about that and much, much more in late edition. Don't miss it.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year. We'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome along to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition, breaking right now.
We've been really clear in our manifesto about the taxes that we won't increase. And we're not going to increase the taxes that working people pay, their income tax, their national insurance and their VAT.
Oh, whoopsie, no taxes on working people? Hang on a minute, because Sir Keir Starmer has refused to repeat that pledge, just as there is a £50 billion fiscal black hole emerging. It looks as though taxes on working people will have to go up. Meanwhile...
You know what I'm looking for? A good rack, pink and moist.
Great. More chaos for the BBC. A string of scandals. As it airs the final MasterChef series with Greg Wallace and John Turode. But there's another scandal too, involving an unnamed star of another show. Oh, meanwhile...
We had some very good talks with President Putin today, but there's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
Speaking moments ago, President Trump is set to meet Vladimir Putin as early as next week, and it has made the front pages of a couple of national newspapers. And...
2 for 25.
Who got hold of my parrot? Anyway, you're not going to want to miss this drug-dealing parrot. The other story that is very big, as far as I'm concerned, is on the front of The Independent. Probably get rid of that drug-dealing parrot, but what's on the front of The Independent, though, cheers, is that Labour's homelessness minister has basically turfed out 4 of her tenants and then hiked the rent, which a lot of people are saying is probably a resigning matter. It's a good job they've decriminalised rough sleeping. And we're also going to be covering, of course, loads more as well. Joining me this evening is former Conservative MP Jonathan Gullis. We have got journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov and GB News contributor and comedian and Steve and Alan. But first, let's get those headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good evening to you. The top story tonight. More than 150 migrants have crossed the Channel today, just a day after the UK and France signed a new returns deal. Border Force vessels Typhoon and Ranger both picked up multiple groups, with dozens arriving in Dover by midday. But questions are already being raised over a potential loophole in the agreement, which could allow some to avoid deportation. Dame Angela Eagle has dismissed those loophole concerns, though, but critics warn it could derail efforts to smash the gangs. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has said he doesn't recognise claims that Labour will need to raise taxes this autumn. It follows a stark warning to Chancellor Rachel Reeves that she may have to break her promise to avoid tax hikes, as a £50 billion black hole has opened up in the public finances. The National Institute of Economic and Social Research says that Labour is now set to miss its own spending targets and plans. It's fuelled growing speculation of new tax rises, including talk of a potential wealth tax. Starmer and Rachel Reeves both insist, though, they're focused on delivering growth, not raising taxes. As we heard at the top of the hour, Donald Trump is planning face-to-face talks with Vladimir Putin as soon as next week. According to the New York Times, a 3-way meeting with the Ukrainian president could soon follow, after Trump briefed European leaders during a call today. It comes after Trump's envoy met Russia's President Vladimir Putin, with the president later writing that great progress had been made. The White House hasn't yet commented on those reports of a 3-way conversation. And the runway at Birmingham Airport has now reopened after an aircraft earlier caused an emergency shutdown of operations. A small plane's landing gear failed earlier today, causing its undercarriage to collapse on touchdown. One person suffered minor injuries. Flights were grounded for a number of hours and investigators examined the aircraft, but the scene has now been cleared and operations resumed, though delays and disruption are still expected. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with you at the same time tomorrow afternoon, in fact. But here is Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome along to Late Edition. Let's give you a whiz-through of Thursday's front pages. The Daily Telegraph. Starmer's pledge on tax thrown into chaos. The Prime Minister refuses to rule out rises in VAT, income tax or national insurance to fix that £50 billion black hole. So that is a huge story, really, isn't it? Because that would be directly against the manifesto pledges. The Sun, they've gone off on a BBC story. It's MasterChef related. Triple chaos at the Beeb. They say MasterChef airs with the two axed presenters. Apparently a female star has been shown a vile picture, and Breakfast's Charlie is probed. He's the guy, what's he called, the bloke who presents BBC Breakfast?
State, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know, anyway, it probably says a lot that we don't know, doesn't it? But anyway, should be on Britain's number
Charlie
one.
State.
OK, good lad, Charlie, well done, mate. Anyway, so, OK, the Metro. I'm a doctor, get me out of here. 1 in 5 medics want to quit the UK. Daily Express, Labour's tax war is harming the economy. 60% of young people think finding a good job will get harder. The Independent, the picture story they've got there is Vladimir Putin meeting Trump's envoy. That has, it seems, paved the way for a story that's on a couple of other front pages, which is President Trump is set to actually meet Vladimir Putin in the next few days. Their main written story, though, is Starmer opens door to pledge-busting income tax rises. Weeks after vowing that Labour would stick to the manifesto promise, the Prime Minister is now apparently refusing to stick to it. I think the Eye's front page is arguably the most shocking, in a way. Labour's Minister for Homelessness ejects her tenants and then hikes rent. Now, people will point out, you know, OK, all right, there's nothing illegal going on here or anything like that, but I think just morally and given the position, it's not great. We'll finish off with a couple more. The Times, wealthier areas are facing a rise, big rises in council tax. And the Daily Mail, HMRC staff, can't say that, HMRC staff hold class on guilt of being British. We will definitely talk about this. Apparently that class took place during working hours, and yes, staff who have been unable to take hundreds of thousands of calls from you, taxpayers, still find the time to do a seminar on the guilt of being British. So we've got the Guardian's front page as well, which is basically apparently leading academics are calling for the reversal of a ban on Palestine action. Can I just say that they lost me after the first two words there? Leading academics. I mean, honestly, haven't we had enough of leading academics? Anyway, right, OK. I am going to start with the front of, well, it's on the front of a couple. It's front of the Independent, though. They've got it in the starkest terms. Sir Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves repeatedly said they would not raise taxes on working people. They said they would not raise VAT. They wouldn't raise income tax. And now, Steve, it appears that they might.
Well, who saw this coming? Yeah. The problem with this is, normally, my rebuttal to this would be I don't put a lot of stock in stories that are he refused to rule out, because it's very easy to kind of paint someone into a corner. You know, do you deny doing this? No comment. Therefore, you are doing this. If your entire election campaign was not raising taxes, not raising these specific taxes, not raising these taxes, and then you're asked again, it's like, I don't know, maybe not, then it does look a little bit damning, doesn't it? This is like when Google changed its mission statement to do no harm to something else. Doesn't matter what you then make it, all of a sudden you've now reintroduced the odds of doing some harm. And on this one, and that clip that you played was great as well, where they were really stressing the word there. We're not raising their taxes, because eventually it was the employers' taxes that were which then impacts the economy, and that's the other front page. The other rant that I wish to do, and no one will come with me on this, could we stop calling it a black hole? You know, this £5 billion black hole? They mean hole. Because a hole is where something's missing. A black hole has got so much stuff in it. It's so dense, its density bends space-time around it and collects more stuff. That's more like Elon Musk's bank account. Can they get that right? No, that's interesting, the way that you've looked at that particular black hole, because I didn't think black hole in the term of space black hole. I thought, like, you know, the black hole of Calcutta? Right.
Which is just a massive hole in the ground, isn't it?
They need to rename that as well.
A bottomless pit.
Well, they mean it's the whole of Calcutta.
Because you've gone spacey, I've gone descriptive.
No, I've gone with the actual black hole.
You have?
Our third option would have been the ride at Alton Towers. And as long as no one goes for that one, I think we're on the money.
Good stuff. All right, good stuff. Jonathan, I'll bring you in on this. So there is a £50 billion hole. And thank you. Welcome, mate. And it's what, VAT, corporation tax, income tax. I don't know if we might be able, after Jonathan's finished speaking, to play that clip, replay that clip of Rachel Reeves, what she said about these taxes thing. But this would be game over, wouldn't it?
Well, actually, I bizarrely think if the government
government chooses just to be honest about the fact they're going to have to break the manifesto pledge in order to keep within the fiscal rules, even though there will be a lot of backlash in the immediate term, I think the public would respect the honesty rather than what I suspect we'll get, which is a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of things hidden away, and then a complete pretense that everything's fine, they're not really raising taxes on anyone, and all the stealth taxes that are coming in are somehow, you know, us misunderstanding tax policy, which is what drives the public nuts, not getting straight answers to straight questions and just having the options laid out before them. I think, look, this does come off the back of shock horror. Rachel Reeves coming in, talking down the economy aggressively about the supposed £22 billion black hole, which Keir Starmer has not. Well, no one's backed up the £22 billion black hole. The OBI, in fact, £9.5 billion of that is through giving inflation-busting pay rises, which Labour chose to do to public sector workers, and now they're facing the impact of that with more strikes on that.
But let's which was not costed for.
Well, again, that's a historical legacy. That's not just the fault of the Conservative government. That is a stain on all governments of all colours historically. Then the second issue, well, there was obviously legal cases as well, let's not forget, Nina. And the second case of that is they chose to increase national insurance on employers. They choose to kill family farms, 3,000 plus fewer farms now in Britain in the past year. They chose to go after capital gains and non-doms, in which they're now rowing back on because, look, shock horror, wealthy people can just move around. So it's not a shock that we're in the situation that we're in, and this is a making of their own back. And ultimately, I just think that, you know, they've got no choice but to be upfront and honest.
Okay. The thing is, there's a lot of hot air. This is pure supposition. We won't know until October.
It's from a respected think tank that's put these figures together.
No. I'm saying the fact that he supposedly has refused to rule out. As you said, Steve, it's the way it's written. He was not directly asked, and he did not directly deny. That never came.
What he did do in the interview was say he wasn't talking about economic growth. He's now pivoted to improving living standards. Just like when he said smash the gangs, he's no longer saying smash the gangs.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that's going to happen. You have to
change of messaging.
Wait until October and then go hysterical. Then start blustering and foaming at the mouth.
All right, well, let's just remind us, this is a clip of Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, saying this.
We've been really clear in our manifesto about the taxes that we won't increase. And we're not going to increase the taxes that working people pay, their income tax, their national insurance and their VAT.
Right. Well, the money's going to have to come from somewhere. And today, this is right here in The Independent, asked multiple times whether he, the Prime Minister, would explicitly rule out breaking the manifesto pledge. Sir Keir Starmer said in the autumn we'll get the full forecast and obviously set out our budget. So it's not, those two things are not the same, are they?
Yeah, because normally I agree. If it's simply being asked a question, not giving a specific denial, newspapers write a lot about that. But you see how their branding was entirely denying those points. They for years, the entire run-up to the election was saying, we won't be raising these taxes. So you could just keep that motto going, just bring out the classics. So when you don't bring out the classics, it's a bit ominous, isn't it? It's conspicuous by its absence. Another promise to not do what they've promised all along.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I want to whiz ourselves on to the I newspaper now, because that front page is, I think, for me, probably actually the best front page of the day. Labour's Minister for Homelessness ejects her tenants and then hikes the rent. So the Government Homelessness Minister removed tenants from her East London home before relisting the property for £4,000 a month, which was an extra £700 in rent. Rushanara Ali has previously spoken out about private renters being exploited. Labour is making it illegal for landlords to relist property for higher rent until 6 months after eviction under a new law. She insists she was putting the house up for sale. But there we go. The tenants obviously claim, quotes, it's an absolute joke. Jonathan, what do you make of this?
It's just, every time people say to me, what's my issue with the Labour Party or people on the left, it's hypocrisy. It's the utter shameless hypocrisy when it comes to the virtue signalling around landlords are somehow all guilty of being really bad and rogue, when actually the majority of them own one or two properties and do the best they can because that's an asset that they want to be able to pass down. Then there's the obviously idea that some Labour ministers are even talking about rent controls. And lo and behold, you know, Angela Rayner's literally talking about that with some legislation being looked at for High Street. So what does this mean in terms of the private rental sector? It is the hypocrisy of the highest order. If you are going to run on the manifesto as Labour did, and Roshana herself has repeatedly said in the House of Commons since the general election that Labour wishes to abolish Section 21 no-fault evictions, then I can't see on a point of principle how she can legitimately stay in her position if she's doing the very thing that she's criticising others for doing. So I think if there was integrity left in politics, and there's plenty of Conservatives, I'm sure Nina can give me examples who should have done the same thing as well, she would step down and let someone who doesn't have a conflict of interest in this to be able to take this legislation through. Doesn't mean she can't come back in a different position, but I think if you're going to have the brass neck to tell landlords they're wrong for doing no-fault evictions, then do one essentially yourself and hike up your your rent prices, then shock horror, people are going to say it's one rule for you and one rule for everyone else.
Yeah, go on, Nina. What do you...
I think it is hypocrisy, and I think she's made a mistake. And there are people who do make mistakes, and she doesn't. You know, she's not unique. Look at the mistake. Well, let's not go into the mistakes of the last 14 years. My God, talk about conflicts of interest. Randox, all sorts of. Let's just say Randox and move on, for heaven's sake. This, as I said on the last show, there's always one who just doesn't see it, doesn't see the implications of that, and puts their own personal interest before the actual...
Fine. But for me, though, it's the idea that if you are the homelessness minister... How do you think you'd get away with this?
Yeah, it does seem like she misunderstood the brief and thought, OK, I can get those numbers up. Don't you worry. I'm in charge of homelessness and we'll get peak figures. Whoever's in charge of, like, teenage pregnancy, tell them, no, make sure it's going down.
Just
make sure, don't do yourself.
I must say it's quite a big house. I mean, she's got 4 tenants.
Well,
I mean, it's not...
Well,
it's not a...
£4 grand a month.
£4 grand a month, I know, but then that's London prices. I mean, the idea of... quite often we get a story where someone's got something in their background, some sort of sexual scandal, some affair, and they lose their job. And I often would defend them, saying, look, does having an affair make you bad at your job? But it's the overlap of this flaw is bang on the money for what her job's about, isn't it? I mean, like, if you get rid of sex scandals from politics, the Profumo affair would have been about a woman who can't sit on a chair the right way. Do you know what I mean? You get rid of the scandal, whereas this is why you shouldn't be in charge of it. You're right, getting rid of no-fault evictions, also bringing in no-fault divorces, which means if you are a landlord, the best way to get rid of your tenant would be to marry them.
Yes.
And then you can get rid of them. The whole thing's an absolute mess. But it does seem it's a bit rum.
She's already in a bit of trouble, Roshana Ali, and not in a criminal sense, really, just politically speaking, because she had huge protests outside her surgery in the run-up to the last election. Because she didn't say which way she was going to vote in one of these Gaza votes, and her constituency has a huge proportion of pro-Palestine candidates. I think she was relatively lucky to keep her seat. I haven't got the figures in front of me now, but they're certainly going after her for the next one. The Gaza independents are going after her. And
Tower Hamlet's electoral history is obviously so unblemished.
Well,
with mayors who, there's another thing.
was Shamima Begum, so that was great.
But the thing is, you have to ask yourself this lack of self-perception and intelligence. Because if this is your job, if you are the Minister for Homelessness, you would be scrupulously careful if you had any kind of...
commercial interest,
No, if you had any kind of brain between the ears, you would know.
If you've ever read a newspaper, you know what's coming.
Well, exactly. You just can't. And I often defend some indefensible things. I will not defend this.
No, and just for clarity, thank you very much to my diligent team behind the scenes there who said that at the last election she got 34% of the vote and an independent got 30. I think her majority is 1,600. So I think that's gone now, probably. But a spokesperson for Roshana Ali said Roshana takes her responsibility seriously and complied with all relevant legal requirements. Well, that's that then. We'll move on. Coming up in just a moment.
You know what I'm looking for? A good rack, pink and moist.
And that was the problem, Greg, wasn't it? Anyway, the BBC is in another crisis. Apparently it's got 3 crises. It's a trifecta of crises, and it's all over the front of tomorrow's Sun newspaper. We'll do it next.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
I'm
Absolutely.
so happy.
Did you watch it then? Did you enjoy it?
I was a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
Honestly. Why did it come down to the crunch like that?
Because it's England. You know what? No matter whether it's the women or the men, it still keeps you on the edge of your seat. But they've got this resilience.
Oh,
the
they're
thing
good.
is that we've never seen with the men before. I suppose it's changed a little bit, but it really is that. I don't want to use any cliches, but that's
use
my
the
job.
cliches.
That's my job. Never say die attitude. And it was terrific. Do you know, though, for how long, out of the 3 knockout games that England played after the group stage, for how long they were actually ahead?
Go on.
Don't worry, I'll tell you. 4 minutes and 52 seconds across 3 entire games was the amount of time they were actually ahead. Doesn't matter. Doesn't make any difference.
No. Yeah.
They came back and they won. It was brilliant.
would it have been better? I was going to say.
Are you looking at
you know, but in terms of if we'd had a stronger game, if we'd been really punching in this rather than it going right down to the wire.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think it really. I honestly don't think it matters. It's just about who wins, and when you've got a trophy. Which is up for grabs there, and also for the second time that the Lionesses have done it. And they were underdogs. I mean, they were.
Yeah.
You'll have players that will say, oh, no, I don't think so. And I said to you on Friday, there wasn't much in it, but the Spanish team were the favourites. They're the world champions. And also, pound for pound, if you look player for player, again, there's another cliche for you, they would have been the better side. But it's a team game. It's how everybody reacts together, how everybody plays alongside each other, and the management. And you could see that. And when it came to penalties, there was one side that were going to win it, and I just thought it was us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Late Edition. Let's deal with the Sun's front page first. In this section, they call it BBC Stew. MasterChef airs with axed 2 presenters. A female star has apparently been showed a vile picture of a man's genitals, I'm reading here in front of me now. And Breakfast's Charlie What's-His-Face is being probed. Thank you. There is a woman who is ranked in the corporation's top 50 highest paid this year. Is said to have asked a horrified junior member of staff about her preferences and then showed her a nude image on her mobile phone. Precisely whose member was flashed isn't known. But the alleged move was considered so offensive, the female talent, so that implies it's on screen, doesn't it? Well, it is on screen, was called in by execs and asked to apologise. Until recently, the jaw-dropping incident remained a story whispered only in the halls of BBC HQ. Let's deal with this first, because if that was... Well, sorry, but Jermaine Genius got biffed for, just being in communication with a female member of staff who wasn't his wife and allegedly sending a couple of, flirty messages and maybe the odd pic, I don't know. But if this is a female presenter who's shown someone else, like a penis, surely she's got to go.
An explicit picture.
Yes.
We have to admit there is a gender difference, isn't there? Because I don't want to live in a world where female colleagues can't show me naked pictures. I'm OK with it. I want you to feel... Don't feel pressure. I know there's a lot of hashtags going around, but, and we were chatting about this outside. I don't want to dob anyone in, but we were saying, it's not as if all pictures that you'd be shown would be to your liking. And I think you've got to take the rough with the smooth. Like, statistically, if someone said to you right now, whatever that picture was, I've got it on my phone, I could show you, I think you'd all think, oh, Let's have a look.
I'd look at it.
And thereby being willing to see it means you've kind of lessened what the crime is. If you're OK with seeing a little bit of a rude... But don't show me that right now,
I'm not going to show you that right now, no.
What have you got on there? But I don't know. That story will probably go nowhere because of the gender difference. We have to be honest.
Is that fair, though? I mean, if they put... Then, you see, then, because there's the layer behind this, which, if the Sun are correct, which is that a female member of staff who's a top talent, who's in the 50 highest paid in the corporation, was reprimanded by staff... by managers and made to apologise, but kept her job, and other members of staff would have been sacked for it. That's Nina.
Would they have been sacked?
Well, Jermaine Genius was sacked for stuff like that.
Yes, but I think he went further than. I mean, as far as what I've read, that he went kind of further than that in terms of the flirty stuff and all of that. There was and who knows? Who knows? I don't know.
I don't think.
That may have been the tip of the iceberg. We don't know that. He was just quietly got rid of, wasn't he?
Good phrase.
But, I mean, he was.
Yeah. Sorry, a slightly intriguing turn of phrase, Nina. That was all. That was all. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at the turn of phrase.
But the point is that everybody always goes at the BBC, and they're desperate. They're looking for stuff to hammer the BBC.
Well, this is quite bad potentially. I mean, by the way, I mean, I am slightly suspicious as to exactly how mortified a member of staff at the BBC was to be shown a picture like that mid-comment. I'm always sceptical of this. Oh, what, really? Did you lose sleep over it, did you? But anyway, they are seeming to say that they did, and therefore it should be taken in the same way that if a male member of staff had done the same thing, surely, Jonathan?
Yeah, look, of course, female members of staff should be held to the same accountability as a male member of staff. I think what I find really baffling is the BBC has been through this rigmarole with sort of, bad decisions made, is probably the best way I can put it legally, by staff members. And yet, despite all the public shaming of those individuals who then found guilty, despite all the inquiries internally done into it, no one seems to really have learned the lesson.
Well, Can I just say the quote on this? Can I just add the quote on this? The woman, the female presenter, asked the young producer if she liked penis pictures, and then showed her a picture on her mobile phone. It was meant to be jokey, locker room type banter, but the woman was completely horrified and cried about it. No one minds a bit of office banter, but this was on another level.
We've not seen the picture, though. It might be the kind of phallus that makes us all cry. You know what I mean?
I'm just not going there. I'm just not going there at all. I would like to bring this conversation round to MasterChef.
Go on, Nina, come on.
Because, I defend the BBC from time to time, but I do not defend the BBC for throwing John Turode under the bus and bracketing him with Greg Wallace. He will be forever bracketed with Greg Wallace. And Greg Wallace and John Turode are completely different characters. And what they did or what they didn't do is absolutely night and day. I've known John for years. He is one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. You'd all like him. There's not a mean bone in his body. There was a piece written, thank God, in the Times after John was sacked by a writer called Michael Hodel, who's a very respected journalist, and he said that he'd, over a period of a decade, interviewed John Turode a couple of times, and each time he'd come away thinking, why can't I be as nice a person as John Turode? And you never actually get that, because some people are absolutely awful. They're ghastly. And what he did, and the language he used, he was singing along to a song that had the lyrics.
Well, he says he doesn't even remember it.
Well, exactly.
And there doesn't appear to be any evidence of it.
The BBC has thrown him under the bus, and
But this is the point. And this is, sorry to drag it back to the other thing, we will move on in a second, but this is kind of why the BBC is not going to be hoisted by its own petard. Because if you treat John Turode like that, and then you've got a female member of staff who, by all accounts, it is uncontested that she showed an unwanted picture of male genitalia to a female member of staff who then cried about it, then I would argue that's worse than what John Turode did.
And it comes to loyalty. MasterChef has brought them ratings, money around the world, worldwide, over 20 years, and John Turode has been a major part of that. And so to be thrown under the bus by the BBC, by Banerjee, the production company, is absolutely outrageous.
All right, let's go to the Daily Mail. I want to squeeze this in this section. HMRC staff hold class on guilt of being British. Apparently, Kemi Badenoch is now leading the backlash over tax officials' nonsense seminar. During work hours, people who work for HMRC have apparently been having a seminar on how guilty they are about being British.
I didn't realise I was meant to feel guilty about it. Can I plead not British or something? Is that how this works? Guilt is such an interesting word. I mean, normally, if you told me people who work at HMRC were going to have a bad day, fine. Maybe do a course on the guilt of being the tax man. Do you know what I mean? That might be the kind of thing. The guilt of not answering a phone, and when you have to pay, like, additional costs for the numbers were more expensive for a while, weren't they? Hanging on. That's probably how they get more money out of me, is all the on-hold time I've spent there than the actual tax that I pay. No, this is ridiculous. It breeds resentment, doesn't it? Hearing about this stuff. That's not the way to get a nation all together, all heading in the right direction. This is not what the left should want. The left should be saying, you know, aren't we a great place, rather than you're bad. Apologise for being British.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? We simultaneously have a problem with literally every single person in the world pretty much wanting to come and live here legally or illegally. And at the same time, we now have seminars on the guilt of being British. You make a good point, though, and Jonathan, I'll put this to you. Shouldn't they be having seminars about the guilt of working for HMRC?
Well, my answer's simple, which is...
Yeah.
to this kind of boneheaded nonsense that I'm so tired and bored of, because why on earth should anyone feel guilty for being British, and let alone people who are paid by the British taxpayer working for the British state? They should be the people most happy to be British. So just sod off. Bugger off with all this nonsense. I'm bored. I'm tired of it. I thought woke died when Trump, thank God, was elected. And I thought now with Rise and Reform that Labour would finally get his act together and go in and say none to this nonsense. Just someone save us from the insanity.
You sound so British right now.
Yeah, that was a very British rant, for which I'm going to have to apologise for some of the language used. But hey, there we go.
How do you know it's Labour that's done this? I mean, it's not. There's not been a directive.
No, I think it's the civil service.
Yeah, but it's a civil service.
Pat McFadden should go in and sack some of these idiots.
Well, maybe they will.
Well, if he does, I'll be the first needed to congratulate him, because he sounds like he'd be sensible enough to do so.
It's not like a directive from number 10, you've got to have this. You say, oh, the left, the Labour Party. It is something within the structure.
The left do hate Britain.
No,
they do regularly talk about colonisation.
No one on the right has ever proposed a seminar called "The Guilt of Being British."
Yes, but there may be left, if you like, but they're absolutely not a left-wing policy. It's not left-wing policy.
What, to be guilty of being British?
Exactly.
There's Labour MPs who want to pay reparations. There's Labour MPs literally set up an APPG, All Parliamentary Party Group, to pay reparations. That's because for something that none of our families are linked to.
No, I mean, they have a point there, because there are things that were done.
Come on. Nina, come on.
Nations were plundered.
You're a very smart woman. You know this is nonsense.
No, it's not nonsense. Nations were plundered, and there are
OK.
It's true.
Have you been on the course?
No, I have not. I have not been on the course. Of course, come on.
Maybe I should go on the course. Maybe it'd simmer me down a bit. Anyway, I now have two presumably quite aggressive right of replies that I need to read. The BBC spokesman said, while we do not comment on individual cases, we will take all complaints about conduct at work extremely seriously. HMRC have said events by staff network should not be taken as reflecting the views of HMRC. An event like this would only be attended by about 0.1% of staff, which would have no impact on our ability to staff our helplines. We have robust processes in place to ensure our phone lines are well resourced throughout the day.
They actually put in a percentage as well.
Yeah.
Classic HMRC.
Sorry,
put in a figure.
Only 0.1% of our staff think.
The thing is, if they can't do percentages, they shouldn't be running HMRC for God's sake.
That's true. Good stuff. OK, coming up in just a moment.
We had some very good talks with President Putin today, but there's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
We'll be heading stateside as President Trump announces a meeting with Vladimir Putin. That was just moments ago. It is on a couple of the newspaper front pages as well. Stay tuned.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, we do have some wetter weather pushing its way through as we go through tonight and into tomorrow, but for the time being, it's still staying largely dry for many places as we go through the rest of this evening, because there is high pressure still lingering across us. But then this weather system towards the northwest is making its way in across Scotland and Northern Ireland, bringing cloud, bringing rain and some strong gusty winds. Could be some heavy bursts of rain and perhaps gales in exposed spots. spots, and that rain then feeding into northern western parts of England and Wales as we head towards dawn tomorrow as well. For many, it's going to be a milder night than last night. Temperatures generally holding up in the mid-teens Celsius, even towards the southeast, where it's going to stay dry and where it's going to be largely clear. Then through tomorrow morning, a bright start to the day across many southeastern parts, but cloudier across central western parts of England and into Wales, where we have the band of rain lingering, and that continues its way across parts of northern England too. Behind that frontal system, though, across Scotland and Northern Ireland, things will be brightening up as we go through the morning. So some sunny spells, but also a scattering of showers and still some blustery winds. The front does gradually edge a little bit further southeast, so in the far southeast of the country, it is going to turn cloudier as we go into the afternoon. But as that front makes its way across, it's breaking up, it's fragmenting. So really not a huge amount of rain for many as we go into the afternoon. Just a few showers across northern and western parts in particular. Temperatures are going to be a degree or so down compared to today. And with the cloudier skies, blustery winds and a bit of rain around, feeling fresher as well. Into Friday, and for many, it is going to be a fine day. Some decent sunshine on offer once again. But across northern parts, particularly the far north of Scotland, here it's looking blustery and it's looking quite wet. More wet weather to come across far northern parts as we go through this weekend, but further south, largely dry, often sunny and turning hotter.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Late Edition. Well, this is a big story, and it is on the front of a couple of newspapers. The one we're going to zone in on is the Daily Telegraph. And President Trump is going to hold talks with Putin and Zelensky. I'll read you a bit more detail. Donald Trump has told allies that he plans to meet Vladimir Putin next week, followed by a three-way meeting with Zelensky and Putin, presumably. The announcement has raised hopes that the end of the conflict could be in sight. It comes after, we're not going to show this on your screen now, but it comes after the story that's leading The Independent, the picture story. President Trump's envoy met with Putin today. So let's just get a US guest on this before I throw it over to my panel. Someone who might know a bit more about this than we do. US political commentator Lee Cohen. Lee, thank you. It's always great to see you. So what do we think is going to happen here then? So Trump's presumably going to meet Putin soon, is he?
Well, that's what we're hearing, Patrick. And I have to say, in response to your last segment, the last thing that you said, let me tell you who is not ashamed to be British, of his British heritage, none other than Donald J. Trump. And he's certainly not apologetic about being American. President Trump is set to confront Putin next week, and he's boldly tackling the Russian-Ukraine war with punishing tariffs on Russia's trading partners like India, who are fueling Putin's war machine. And Patrick, he's shaming European leaders like Keir Starmer who have failed to act decisively. While critics may snipe and Putin's schemes, Trump's fearless diplomacy could reshape global security. And you know what, Patrick? He deserves the world's support.
OK, all right. So are you hoping that this meeting, which, I mean, rumours are could happen, well, anything from a couple of weeks to a few days, I suppose. I mean, we don't actually know where it's going to be, do we? I don't think. I mean, is it going to be, presumably it's Russia, I would have thought. It's quite
I would have,
yeah.
I would have thought. But, you know, make no mistake, while Trump and Russia have signaled productive meetings today. Both of them have released statements. Challenges remain, including potential Russian duplicity, the exclusion of European allies, and the broader impact of sanctions on global trade. The coming weeks will certainly be critical in determining whether these efforts yield a sustainable ceasefire or if they falter amid those challenges.
Well, realistically, though, I suppose it is a relatively risky thing, because if President Trump does go and meet Vladimir Putin, followed by Zelensky, and then there's some kind of three-way discussion, and then we don't get a ceasefire, I suppose it would look a bit like he's failed, and maybe he'd have to wade in. Maybe he'd have to put boots on the ground in Ukraine himself to get the job done.
Listen, there's no other world leader that has the resolve to do this. Yes, there have been stumbles to progress along the way, and mainly they've lain at the feet of Putin, certainly. But Trump has reiterated, and he's made a very strong statement, that unless Russia agrees to a ceasefire by Friday, he will move forward with further sanctions. And he's already taken a courageous stand by slamming India with a 50% tariff for buying 35 to 36% of its oil from Russia. No one else has done this. No other leader has the leader with the guts and the resolve to confront Putin's bloodshed, not one who prioritizes Brussels over decisive action.
OK, all right, Lee. Well, thank you very, very much, as ever. That is Lee Cohen there, US political commentator. We're just going to play a little clip of President Trump just to remind ourselves of what he's actually said, and then we'll go to the panel.
Had some very good talks with President Putin today, and there's a very good chance that we could be ending the end of that road. That road was long and continues to be long, but there's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
OK, all right. Go on, Ian.
I wanted to pick... I'm sorry, he's gone. I wanted to pick him up on a point, because he said Keir Starmer had failed to act decisively. Where is his evidence for that? Britain has led the way in the support of Ukraine, and Keir Starmer, from the beginning a year ago, has supported Ukraine, pushed the whole thing. When Zelensky had that terrible mauling in the White House by Trump, when Zelensky landed in Downing Street, Keir Starmer walked out the door and embraced him, gave him a big hug, which is what everybody wanted to do, actually. And he's consistently, well, maybe not you, consistently supported Ukraine.
It's nice of him to embrace the Ukrainian.
And it's nothing to do with Brussels, as he mentioned at the end. He's just trying to stir trouble, basically. Let's get the facts straight.
All right, OK, fair enough. But this could be a big thing, though. President Trump, going and meeting Putin, presumably in Russia, trying to get an end to this, do you think, or not?
Yeah, well, look, I think if you want this to end, you realise talks are going to be the way that these things end, because it's not like we live in a world where wars are won by just entirely obliterating all of the people on one side. Look, whether you like Trump or not, you should like the idea that this comes to an end. Look, even if you don't like Trump, you can enjoy how messed up that sentence was, where he says, we're coming to the end of the road. It's been a long road and it continues to be a long road. So we're not at the end of it then. So he doesn't understand roads or ends. But other than that, I like what's happening. I like the change. Because when we were talking a while ago, when it was maulings in the White House, when it was seeming like he was Putin's best friend, that was wrong. When it looked like we were going to do some talks and two sides have teamed up on the other one. But now he's moving nukes around. He seems less Putin-friendly.
Yeah,
it's the right place.
Nuclear submarines as well. I do wonder if he has. Well, I suppose just the reality of events has maybe had his eyes open slightly to the way that Putin operates, which has so far been, as far as I can gather, pay President Trump a huge amount of lip service and then not really actually do anything. However, Jonathan, if this does come off, Trump meets Putin, then they have this kind of three-way discussion that they've got with Zelensky and Putin, and then we get a ceasefire. That is a huge achievement by President Trump.
No, of course it is, and actually it'd be a huge moment for all of us, and particularly, let's be quite frank as well, the economic impact that would have, across Europe in particular. It would be a huge relief for Rachel Reeves, particularly when it comes to household energy bills.
Yes.
And what that could mean in terms of oil and gas prices and the
defence budget.
And the defence budget too. However, I think the problem is there's very few people who are ever willing to even consider trying to give President Trump credit. And look, I wasn't happy with what we saw in the Oval Office. I thought it was extremely wrong and poor form to have been that aggressive. However, I think President Trump had to demonstrate that he wasn't going to be like other European world leaders and somehow just be a mouthpiece for Zelensky. If he was going to legitimately try and get both to the table, he had to look like he was going to strong-arm both sides. I agree with you, however. I think he's been very frustrated that Putin has paid lip service, and at times I think after where they think they're getting close to a deal, then rockets have gone from Russia into Kiev, targeting innocent civilians.
Played him.
I don't think Putin's played him. I think Trump's tried to find a middle ground, and I think he's felt disappointed. And now he's going. You've left me no choice.
Do you think they'll meet in Russia? I think it'll be in some.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? Maybe you're right about that. Actually, yeah, maybe they'll meet in Turkey.
Largo.
Yeah. Or can you imagine? I mean, the images of them by the pool would be fantastic. But anyway, coming up. More brain drain, AirTag trainers and the decline of marriage, but enough about my home life.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
There's some hot air across parts of northern Africa at the moment, and as that's feeding its way northwards, it's going to push into Spain and Portugal. And here we're going to see temperatures rising through the next few days, could get into the low 40s at times. Otherwise, there will be a spell of showery rain affecting Gibraltar perhaps on Thursday, and a few showers across Italy and also into Greece and Turkey, but slightly fewer than I'm expecting through today. And the outlook for many is looking sunny and fairly hot.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Let's round ourselves off with a story that's inside one of the national newspapers on Thursday, and it's the Times, actually, and it's the cost of weddings being blamed for causing a historic low in the number of married adults. A study for the Office for National Statistics and Gretna Green Limited, a venue in the Scottish town, and here we go. All right, OK, we've scratched the surface, and now we've immediately found out why this has taken place. Anyway, it's found that fewer than half of adults in Britain are married. The company is calling for reforms to wedding laws to be led by a czar and wants simpler rules, faster pathways, clearer guidance on marriage. A survey by Hitched, which is a wedding website, found a couple's big day now costs, on average, apparently, 23,350 quid.
I failed then.
From 17 grand. Why did you fail?
My wedding last year certainly was above the average.
It was above, was it?
It was above. It was...
Good.
It was sizably above the average.
Wow. Right. Good for you.
It's a lovely day, and I've got lots of lovely photos, but now I'm looking at that, I'm going, we really... What? I thought I was quite a decent negotiator. Obviously, I'm horrific. So that's a good lesson there.
But it's all this nonsense about matching napkins, and I find that... I'm someone who never wanted to be married and been happily unmarried to somebody for 35 years. I wouldn't mind a nice day out in the frock, but for heaven's sake, spend them...
Well, they dress the chairs. I don't get that. Dressing. Whoever needs to dress a chair? Oh, it's a naked chair.
I think they look nice. I like it.
Oh, come on, get up. No, look, I mean...
I went massive on our wedding. Yeah. Well, massive.
We've seen the videos, mate. We've seen the videos. I was trying to tally up as I was watching it.
Actually, I can't sit here and... If my mother-in-law and indeed my parents are watching it, they also chipped in. But I like the dressing of the chairs, But what I will say, though, I mean, people are going to call me horrific sexist for this, but, like... There's loads of things that I am now only aware of because there is a woman in my life, like dressing of the chairs. I wouldn't have thought about, gosh, these chairs need to be dressed.
Because they don't, yeah.
Yeah, but now I've seen it, I'm like, well, maybe we should dress that chair.
It makes it like all of the chairs have died and come back as ghosts. Why do you do that for £23,000? I'm sure it was a nice day. Was it better than Alton Towers? I don't think it was. It was cheaper than the day in Alton Towers. Well,
in case my wife is watching, absolutely it was better than Alton Towers, just so you know. Just so you know.
Can I just show off?
You didn't throw up. That's the other thing. Or maybe you.
I'm a boring teetotaler. So I was stone cold sober. My wife, however, was she was escorted kindly back to the snooze.
Well, I'm being told that I need to go on this. The Telegraph on Thursday is carrying a story about a parrot that's been taught to squawk the drug-dealing phrase 2 for 25. I'm going to talk about this later because I'm not sure what you can get 2 off for 25 quid. But anyway, has helped to bring down a gang that ran a £1 million narcotics ring from a prison cell.
2 for 25.
What drug is that? 2 for 25. No, OK, silence. OK, good. I would have loved it if Gullis had come in with, right, it's MCAT. Right. Anyway, owned by Shannon Hilton, the bird appeared in a video recovered from a mobile phone during a police raid in which it repeated a phrase used by... No! 2 portions of cocaine for 25 quid. Evidence of video calls between Hilton and her boyfriend showed the parrot named Mango playing with cash earned from their drug operation. Right, I've got to finish with a review of Thursday's front pages. The Sun, BBC Stew, they say there's a triple scandal going on at the BBC, including a female star showing a picture of a penis to a younger member of staff. The Daily Mail, they have, of course, gone for HMRC staff hold class on guilt of being British. The Daily Express goes for Labour tax war is harming the economy. The Independent has gone for Starmer opens door to pledge-busting income tax rises. The Times, they go off on the Times of wealthier areas face big rises in council tax, thank you. And The Guardian as well, they basically think that a load of high-minded academics are calling for Palestine action to be deprescribed, but of course they are, because that's who they are. Right, thank you very much to my wonderful panel. Thank you to everybody at home who's been watching and listening, and I'll be back tomorrow at 9 p.m, hopefully.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now we do have some wetter weather pushing its way through as we go through tonight and into tomorrow, but for the time being it's still staying largely dry for many places as we go through the rest of this evening because there is high pressure still lingering across us. But then this weather system towards the northwest is making its way in across Scotland and Northern Ireland, bringing cloud, bringing rain and some strong gusty winds. Could be some heavy bursts of rain and perhaps gales in exposed spots. And that rain then feeding into northern western parts of England and Wales as we head towards dawn tomorrow as well. For many it's going to be a milder night than last night. Temperatures generally holding up in the mid-teens Celsius, even towards the southeast where it's going to stay dry and where it's going to be largely clear. Then through tomorrow morning, a bright start to the day across many southeastern parts, but cloudier across central western parts of England and into Wales, where we have the band of rain lingering, and that continues its way across parts of northern England too. Behind that frontal system, though, across Scotland and Northern Ireland, things will be brightening up as we go through the morning. So some sunny spells, but also a scattering of showers and still some blustery winds. The front does gradually edge a little bit further southeast, so in the far southeast of the country, it is going to turn cloudier as we go into the afternoon, but as that front makes its way across, it's breaking up, it's fragmenting, so really not a huge amount of rain for many as we go into the afternoon. Just a few showers across northern and western parts in particular. Temperatures are going to be a degree or so down compared to today, and with the cloudier skies, blustery winds and a bit of rain around, feeling fresher as well. Into Friday, and for many it is going to be a fine day, some decent sunshine on offer once again, but across northern parts, particularly the far north of Scotland, here it's looking blustery and it's looking quite wet. More wet weather to come across far northern parts as we go through this weekend, but further south, largely dry, often sunny and turning hotter.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Let us take on some of your financial stresses and pay your mortgage or rent for the next 12 months. We want to give you a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an unbelievable £20,000. We'll also boost that by a further £5,000, so you really could have some fun in the coming year. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
A very, very good evening to you and welcome to Farage with me, Martin Daubney. Coming up on the show tonight, has Britain reached breaking point once again? Because shock new polling reveals that immigration is once again back to being the #1 issue in the country for the first time since the Brexit years of 2016. Now, all of this comes as it emerges that Labour's migrant deal could be utterly derailed by human rights lawyers. I'll be joined in the studio by one of those in a moment. I'll also be joined by a certain former Chancellor of the Exchequer as Britain's fiscal black hole looks to double from £22 billion to nearer £50 billion. And the lawyer for the victims of Jimmy Savile has castigated the government's political point scoring when they claimed that Nigel Farage was on the side of the infamous paedophile. And plus, the new normal of broken Britain is now on full display as signs tell central London shoppers at Currys to mind the grab amidst spiralling crime.
Very good evening to you. We'll be back with Martin shortly. First, though, a look at the headlines. More than 150 migrants have crossed the Channel today, just a day after the UK and France signed a new returns deal. Border Force vessels Typhoon and Ranger picked up multiple groups, with dozens arriving in Dover by midday. But questions are already being raised over a potential loophole in the agreement, which could allow some to avoid deportation by claiming human rights protections or saying they're under 18. Dame Angela Eagles dismissed the loophole concerns, but critics warn it could derail efforts to smash the gangs. The Prime Minister has said he doesn't recognise claims that Labour will need to raise taxes this autumn. It follows a stark warning to Chancellor Rachel Reeves that she may have to break her promise to avoid tax hikes, as a £50 billion black hole has now opened up in the public finances. The National Institute of Economic and Social Research says Labour is now set to miss its own targets and spending plans. It's fuelling growing speculation of new tax rises, including talk of a potential wealth tax. Well, turning to news in the United States, and Donald Trump has said there has been great progress in back-channel talks with Vladimir Putin as efforts ramp up to end the war in Ukraine. His envoy Steve Witkoff met the Russian leader for 3 hours today in a last-minute push to avoid fresh sanctions on Russia, though they are still expected to land on Friday. Trump's now imposed a steep 25% tariff on Indian imports, punishing New Delhi for continuing to buy Russian oil. China closely escaped similar action, but has been warned it will be sanctioned if purchases continue. 5 US soldiers have been shot and wounded at Fort Stewart military base in Georgia. The suspected shooter is in custody after gunfire broke out late this morning, triggering a lockdown notified on Facebook. All 5 victims have been taken to hospital, and officials have said in a statement there is no ongoing threat to the public. The White House says President Trump has been briefed. And Birmingham Airport has suspended all flights today after a small aircraft made an emergency landing on the runway. The light plane came down just before 2 o'clock this afternoon. 3 people on board. 1 was treated for minor injuries. Footage showed the aircraft lying flat on the tarmac as emergency crews rushed in. Passengers due to fly are being urged to check their flight status, with disruption expected throughout tonight. That's the news on GB News. I'll be back with you at 8 o'clock. Now, though, it's over to Martin.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sam, and welcome back to Farage with me, Martin Daubry. Now, do you remember this moment? Of course, Breaking Point. This was the era-defining campaign advert launched by UKIP and Nigel Farage that was dubbed by the mainstream as Beyond the Pale. George Osborne described it as disgusting and a vile poster which had echoes of literature used in the 1930s. And yet here we are 10 years on, and the question is, has Nigel Farage been vindicated? Because some bombshell new polling from YouGov has connected 2016 with 2025, because for the very first